All right. Hello, everybody. We do appear to be live, so yay! Hooray! Ah, all right. Well, 9:30 p.m. already, but I did get an extra chapter of Memories of Creature 88 recorded, so that's always nice. Now let's take a. Oh, shoot. I know what I totally forgot to do. Social Stream Ninja. We don't have chats yet. I forgot to pull them up. Oops. Alright, come on. Turn on. Thank you. You know, it's the ever-present, what did I forget this time? Yep. Twitch. Kick. Rumble. And Odyssey. That should be everything, and whoa, that's a lot of Odyssey chats pulled back from old. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Perfectamundo. Oh. Huh? Eh. Why not just take uh Ba-da-dum, ba-da-da-da-da-da. Be-dee-dee, be-dee-dee, ba-da. Ah, no? Cool. Stream does appear to be live. Hey, flightless bird, how you doing? Hopefully, you're able to fly. If I try, I can fly, right? uh, didn't see you on YouTube. See me now? Awesome, awesome, awesome. Yeah, literally just went live. Just about to go to bed. Wanted to say hi. Oh, thank you so much. Glad you could hop in and say hi. Get that hat. Get that mask in. There we go. And a hello on the YouTube side. Sweet. Thank you for helping make sure that it actually works for me. Always good to have that audio chat test at the start. Okay. Hashtag streaming myself, editing some hashtag HFY stories tonight. Hop in and keep me company or distract me. Whatever floats your boat. Hashtag VTuber. Hashtag audiobook. Hashtag narration. Let's pop on over, copy the links. Boom. Drop there. that link. To there. That. Close that. To here. And hop on into the Discords. Also, Flightless Bird, do you maybe notice my audio any different? Does it perhaps sound a little bit better? I realized that I could just buy a cheap little mini isolation booth for my microphone. So my Yeti now has its own personal foam enclosure to reduce echoes. Let's see. Can you share that? I can share that. Let's go ahead and hide. Not the one. Hide. That's the one I wanted to hide. Instead of the tower, it's Elon catching Starship. Or, the Super Heavy Booster, rather. Silly silliness. Link. Boom. Perfect. Yay. Is that posted? Just a random channel started following me. Cool. But like 19 hours ago, so not a new notification, just an existing one. All right. Anyway, we will be starting in a little bit. Little itty bitty bit. Just gotta grab a few more things on my end. And then we can start. Like making sure Twitch is actually working on my playback monitor, which for some reason it refuses to. Yay! Got an eyelash in my eye. No. No. Think I blinked it out. What? My freaking old laptop is deciding to act up, because why wouldn't it? Close that tab and just reopen it. And see if that does the trick. It was definitely not behaving the correct way. And try again. Switch. Go. Please. I would very much like it if you were working successfully. Important? Nope. Not an important location. Whatever. You'll either fix yourself or you won't. That's all it comes down to. It's down. Hey, Amin Rara, thank you for the bits. Hello, hello. We are just about ready to get started. Just need 2 more seconds and we're all set. Close that, and I think we're all set. What up? Not much, just doing some editing. Just doing some editing. Hello, Freedom Fiend. And by doing some editing, I mean we're still firing up the still firing up Shotcut. Yeah, I'm Rara, Freedom Fiend. How are you guys doing? Can close Hubble, and we can get to work. Projects, narrations, Creature 88, Creature 34. Or start, open, missions, Hubble small, audio track. I have two. I already posted here. I posted here. We can close X. One less thing to worry about. Creature 34. Also, Freedom Fiend and Amin Rara, does my audio sound any better than usual? I purchased a little mini foam enclosure for my microphone, so I'm hoping there's a lot less echoes, like especially less echoes off of the monitor to the reflecting in from the back of the microphone. That's my hope, at least. It does unfortunately block more of my view of my screens, which is more of a pain, but hey, what do you do? Normalize. Creature 88, Creature 34, Creature 34. Let's let that go. Hast thou literacy? Not older English literacy. I know that's not old English, but turn of modern era English. Not that kind of literacy. Just pure modern English literacy. I also have tea. And I also had a steak earlier today. It was a bavette steak, and it was delicious. Like, seriously, I'm not going to say most delicious steak I've ever had. I've had more. But it was so juicy and tender. I let it marinate overnight. Literally just salt, pepper, onion and garlic powder, smoked paprika, and thyme. Soaked it in a little bit of balsamic vinegar. Let it marinate overnight. Brought it out to warm up like an hour before I fried it. Fried it medium high, 4 minutes aside on butter. Let it cool off for a bit. Fried up some garlic and the leftover juices in the pan. Kind of poured that essentially garlic butter over it. That steak was so delicious. My dad made the same one yesterday. It did not come out as good. It was decent, but literally marinating overnight in balsamic vinegar is what did the trick. Doing well? Got yourself a 3D printer? It's working a lot better than you expected, given that you're in a semi. Oh. In a semi, like in a semi truck? That's cool. I didn't know you were a trucker. I'm Android 13. Look at my trucker hat. Alright, let's go up. Memories of Creature 88, Creature 34, Creature 34 M4A. Drag you over there. Ripple delete. Zoom. About there. Close. Again. F1 rich. It's not there. 1728. Background color. Join. $30. Light gray. Full justification. Already got grid lines. Realign. And let's go. Nope. 912 is way too much. We get a single. We got a single pair. My earbuds. Oh, there are my earbuds. There they are. Hidden in the back. Come on, come on. No. Correct, you drive a semi for a living. Oh, nice. Now, you aren't doing the printing while you drive the semi, do you? Because that seems like it would be really causing problems. Wait, that would also explain why you're surprised that it's doing better than you expected. Ah. Good. All right. Hopefully this won't be too loud. Just as Vincent was about to open the door out of the briefing room, he stopped and looked down over his shit. He muttered and wiped away blood where he found it, only to realize it was getting on the gloves of his suit. The material could camouflage. The blood couldn't. He let out a sigh and looked around the briefing room and saw 2 doors in the back. The first one he checked led into a supply closet, while the other was some sort of small back hallway. He slipped down that way, hand on the hilt of his knife. He was still fairly well disguised, but the blood would draw attention if someone paid attention. See if this'll fit. No, it most certainly will not. 16's too much. What? No. No, it's not. It's 850 as a one-off. We can accept 8. It's bigger than I like, but 900 is my hard limit. If someone was... The rooms connected to the hall seemed to be offices, that were thankfully empty, as Vincent checked in on them. Finally, he found one that had another door at the back. It was fairly bland and nondescript, as far as he could tell. No diploma or pictures of the family, something he'd expect from the Yervesh, or a video game that didn't believe in making realistic interiors. But the door at the back thankfully led to a private bathroom. He closed the door behind him and turned off the active camo, so he could see what he was doing. Then he turned on the water to begin washing his hands off. It was a bit more difficult to try and wash off the torso area, but he managed as he started getting the hand towels wet and using them to wipe the blood off. He was almost finished when the door suddenly opened up, and he looked to his side, only to see a very surprised Zeno. It was a Buborgi, which always looked to him like someone stuck the head of a horned owl onto the body of a beaver and made it roughly person-sized. He had a mop in one hand and a janitor's card behind him. He looked at Vincent with wide eyes, clearly surprised, and for a moment twitched back towards the other door. Vincent warned quickly. If you run, I have to kill you. If you run, I have to kill you. At 7:15? Perfect. Yeah, I just got sitting in the passenger seat. It's legit. While driving, you must have some really good air suspension or air ride, at least on the seat. Vincent warned quickly. I have to kill you. With that, the Xeno froze in place. Hopefully the chat isn't delayed. I know we had some trouble on the Twitch side before. Oh, come on. We're already several minutes behind on Twitch. That's bullshit. That's complete bullshit. I don't know what the hell is wrong with it, but Twitch really, really, really does not like, really doesn't like what I'm doing when I'm multi-streaming through, the OBS multiple output plugin. It just decides that, no, don't care about you. You're not getting the live stream. Hell. I am looking for this option, yes. We need to make the Rumble stream private so that we start building up private hours. Yay! 10 p.m. I probably won't run all the way until 2 a.m., but who knows, maybe. Okay, let's say we're here at the, all right, 25 minutes on Rumble, blah, 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 time check, time check, time check. And hopefully I'll hear that. through my phone playing back Twitch, and I'll know exactly how late we are. Seriously though, the only reasonable surface is the floor, and even then the printer shakes like spastic. Despite this, the prints look great. Wow. Hard to believe it, but amazing. Alright, we're just waiting for the stream to catch up. Seconds. We are exactly 1 minute of lag time on Twitch. There is no reason for there to be 1 minute of lag time on Twitch. Why does it always do that? And it's just Twitch. I mean, I'm sending the same stream everywhere. There's no reason for it to be so far behind. Seriously, is there any setting that I can change here? I'm literally reusing the same encoder as OBS as what's being sent to YouTube. Same settings, same frame rate, same resolution, same encoder audio, everything identical. It's just 1 whole minute behind after 25 minutes of streaming, and it'll keep getting further and further behind. Oh, such pain. The pain. We still have... That's definitely not right on the Rumble side. Okay. Still showing we got 8 people. Apparently everybody had premium or something, or it still counts people that were... Whatever.
With that, the Xeno froze in place, and his eyes got even wider than before. Vincent looked back down at his suit and kept wiping away the blood. There was a patch of it, though, that just kept getting smeared around rather than removed. Got anything for stains on sensitive surfaces? He asked and looked at the janitor, who blinked. You're allowed to move. Just don't run away. Vincent said, which prompted the Xeno to turn around and pick up a bottle from his cart before handing it to Vincent. Vincent squirted some of the liquid on the suit and found the blood came right off. That done, he reactivated the camo and found himself to essentially vanish. Good thing this isn't dry clean only, eh? He laughed as the Xeno just gulped nervously. I swear I was just going to clean this bathroom out. That's it. The Xeno replied, nothing
in Vincent's sense of humor. Should be 600? Yep. Always nice when I can eyeball it.
Replied, with a sense of humor. You're in a secret and secure section of a massive estate. You sure you're not part of all this? Vincent waved a hand at the room around him, only to realize the Xeno wouldn't be able to see it. Why would they give you access if you aren't one of them? He finished instead. Someone's gotta clean, the Xeno said and shifted his mop a bit. True enough. Tell you what, you leave and tell them you feel sick and go home. You don't tell them you saw me, and you start looking for a new job. He handed the bottle back to the Xeno. That sound green? The Xeno nodded emphatically. Green!
Green! Hoot hoot. Hoot hoot, MFer. Totally green. Nodded emphatically.
If it were green. Vincent patted the janitor's shoulder, only to have the Xeno gasp and jerk away in surprise. It was hard for him to get used to being essentially invisible. Just step aside. The janitor quickly moved away from the door, and Vincent stepped through. But as he got to the hall, he turned back. And just remember, if you feel like warning someone, then I can see you, but you can't see me. He walked down the hall and ducked into another office, watching the janitor slowly peek his head out from the other office, and then quickly walked down away from the briefing room. As he passed the office Vincent was in, the Xeno muttered, Don't get paid nearly enough for this shit.
Don't get paid nearly enough for this shit. Won't squeeze 2 in, will we? Yeah, we will. No, we won't.
nearly enough. Once he was gone, Vincent actually started reading the nameplates on the offices, and then found one down a second hallway that read, Jormak, Chief of Security. There was a good chance he could find out where the preacher was if he asked this particular evil goon a few pointed questions. The door was closed, so Vincent tugged the knife from its sheath gently, and then very slowly turned the knob and started to open the door, trying to get a sense of what waited for him inside. He could hear soft talking, but couldn't make out what was being said. It didn't seem like the Xeno inside had noticed the door.
All that 850.
It didn't seem I had noticed the door yet. Vincent paused, weighing his options for a moment, and then kept slowly inching the door open, just wide enough to slip inside, and then slowly close it behind him. Once he was inside, he could see this office was very different from the others. There were pictures of a howler on the walls, only this howler seemed to have a family. He noticed the picture of a big grinning male and a female, with two little ones. Then he saw pictures of the younger ones with the female, and some of the younger ones alone. But he didn't see the male in the pictures again, right up until he moved around the desk and saw the male sitting in his chair, leaning over a tablet open.
Sitting in his chair.
Tablet open to some sort of shopping site. So, you already had a chance to see them at the zoo with your friends, huh? What did you think? So you still like them? That's cool. Oh, so we got you that from the gift shop. Zeno crossed out an item on the tablet. Vincent began to feel uneasy as he listened in on the conversation Zeno was having, with what looked to be his kid on the other end of the comm the howler had in his ear. How's the slam ball going? I know I promised to come see more games, but... Oh, uh-huh. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. She didn't tell me. Zeno crossed out several items.
That's not going to be a 0. Nope. 50 like before.
Tell me. Crossed out several items. Well, at least you had fun with the gym last week, yeah? Yeah, I hope so. I had them set all that up special for you. Yeah, I wish I could have been there too. Yeah, no. Vincent could see the Xeno's expressions as he spoke on the comm. He sounded quite happy. No way. Well, I look forward to seeing it mounted on your wall. What? They didn't let you keep it? You go back there and carry it home yourself. He laughed at whatever the reply was. All right, so you enjoyed it, yeah? I'm really glad to hear it, bud. Could you put your sister on the phone? As he seemed to wait on the comm, he circled an item on his tablet and nodded. Then he changed the page he was looking at to a whole new page of items that Vincent couldn't make out. At some point, the other person must have got on, because the Xeno picked up. Hey, sweetie! I know it's been forever since we spoke. Yeah, did you? That's great! Vincent couldn't take the Xeno out while he was on the comm. He was clearly talking to his kids, and what kind of heartless monster would do something like that? Then again, his team was still under fire. He mentally cursed and inched closer to the back of the chair, trying to figure out what course of action to take.
Oh, perfect. 100. That's the one I'm more closer to the back of the chair, trying to figure out what...
The Xeno kept speaking, with who Vincent presumed to be his daughter, until he finally circled an item on the
Vincent presumed.
Until he finally circled an item on the tablet. Yeah, would you? Thanks, sweetie. I promise I'll bring you something for my trip. Vincent could see the noticeable change in the Xeno's posture suddenly. Slumped shoulders, down-tilted head, one hand on his forehead. Must be the X. Hey, Faraka. Yeah, I know. Look, work has been really busy lately. I know that. Look, please, take them up on the offer. I mean, level 20? That's great, right? No! The Xeno let out a heavy sigh. I swear, I'm not. I work at a university now. If you ever come up, you... He got quiet, and then his shoulders seemed to slump further. All right, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to get worked up. I'm trying really hard, Firaka. Yeah, is it not enough? I'll send you more. Oh, sorry, I thought... No, I just want to provide. Well, if you let me see them more often, then I wouldn't have to bring presents every time. Well, if you think that makes them think of you as the evil one, then whose fault is that? Vincent didn't need to hear the other end of the
conversation to know the Xeno had just fucked up. And it was at that moment that he knew he had fucked up.
The other end of the Xeno had just fucked up. The howler blinked and then set the tablet on his desk before rubbing his face in his hands. I didn't mean that. I didn't. I'm sorry. I just get frustrated. I'm sorry. Yes, you're right. The fight had completely drained out of him. Yes, I agree. I need help, okay? Say goodnight to them for me. The Xeno pulled the comm bud from his ear and set it on the desk. Vincent had enough time to think about what he needed to do and compare it with what he wanted to do. He kept the knife in hand and pulled out his magnum before speaking up. Divorce can be rough. Yeah, the Xeno said, and then looked up with a sudden realization. But as he reached for the comm, Vincent jabbed the muzzle of his gun up under the Xeno's chin.
No touching the comms. Be a little ambitious. I'll try to grab one more. Perfect. It's inside 750.
Vincent jabbed the mug to Zeno's chin. No. Lean back. The Howler carefully leaned back in his chair, obviously confused as he was staring at a floating gun. Vincent deactivated the camo for his helmet and saw the fear in the Howler's eyes. The Zeno might be a foot taller and a good 40 kilograms heavier than Vincent, but right now...
Huh?
And saw the eyes. The Zeno might be a foot taller and a good 40 kilograms heavier than Vincent, but right now, it wasn't that kind of fight. Vincent reached over, and without bracing the comm unit, he simply cut through it with a single clean swipe from his knife. Now then, where's the preacher? I don't... Vincent jammed the muzzle up into the Zeno's throat under his chin a little harder. He could feel the movement of the Zeno's gulp through his gun. End of the hall. Lift on the left. It takes you to his private residence. Vincent watched him for a moment. And the code? What? He didn't finish the comment as he heard the heavy click of Vincent pulling back on the hammer. 57961. No biometrics.
Vincent pulled the gun back. See? A little, Blacksmith and West, negotiation.
Nope. Vincent pulled the gun back. That wasn't so hard, was it? I only asked for a quick death, Shade. The Zeno growled, and for once it sent a pang of guilt through Vincent. You know, my father died when I was young, and I'd hate for that to happen to your own son. The Zeno glanced sidelong at some of the pictures he had. I don't trust you enough to let you walk out of here. Do you have any cuffs? The Zeno nodded and reached for a drawer. Slowly. The Zeno's hands moved slower as he pulled out a set of bindings. They looked sturdy enough to hold Howler, which was perhaps the point. Got a bathroom? Bathroom? The Zeno asked, clearly confused. Just in there. He nodded to a door past Vincent, so he carefully circled around and kept his eyes on the Zeno before sheathing his knife and opening the door behind him. A quick glance behind him told him it was indeed a bathroom.
And a glance behind him told him it was indeed a bathroom. Indeed, the doorway that he had pointed to did lead to a bathroom. Number 1, 2, 7, 5. As that.
A quick glance. It was indeed a bathroom. All right, in there. The Zeno got up, moving slowly as Vincent kept his gun trained on him. Once inside the bathroom, Vincent nodded. On the floor, hands behind the toilet. The Zeno clearly didn't look pleased with the idea. I guess you get to find out how good your janitor is at cleaning. The Howler slowly got on the ground, reaching his hands back behind the toilet before binding them together. Vincent kept his gun in hand and reached back to give a tug, making sure they were secure. See, I don't kill everyone. If the patrol catches me in here, I'm fairly sure I'll be going to prison for so long my son will grow up without me. It was your choice to work for the wrong side.
It was your choice to work for the wrong side. Missed the
Wrong
bus.
side?
Oh, well.
Reddit's the never make where I'm from.
Give more opportunities to the poor. Out of 600? Yep. Love it when my estimates turn out to be correct.
Opportunities to the poor. He's advocating the slaughter of an entire species whose only job is to protect people and enforce the law. You're not working for the good guys. Vincent stressed before shutting the door to leave the Howler inside. He didn't normally spare the enemy, but he didn't feel up to killing the divorce.
Inside.
He spared the enemy, but he didn't feel up to killing the divorced father. Then again, how many young Zenos were missing loved ones because of him already? No, he couldn't think like that because they were criminals. Didn't criminals deserve a chance? Fuck! He growled beneath his breath as he tried to drive the thoughts from his mind. If he got wrapped up in the mental aspect of what he was doing, there was no telling how it would turn out. He needed to focus, so he pictured the preacher spewing all that bullshit to the citizens of the lower city and nodded, reminding himself that
He needed him to end this. Now. It ends here. It ends now. Nope. Use that last one. The team needed him to now.
he stepped out of the office. He stepped out of the office and reactivated.
Oop. To end this.
He stepped out of the office and reactivated his helmet camo, and holstering the magnum before pulling out his knife. End of the hall, lift on the left. He turned and walked past the office before finding the lift in question. The panel inside had a few options for floors, but one wasn't marked, so he hit that. It asked for a key code, and he punched in the one the Howler gave him, tensing a little as he did. But the lift started moving up, and it didn't seem like it was a trap. Even so, he didn't drop his guard. When the doors opened, he had to quickly back up as two howlers armed with tie bar cannons barged into the lift. Vincent could barely avoid them as he squeezed himself into the corner. What the fuck? Who entered the code? I told you it was empty when I checked the camera. The second one mentioned.
There is something that I just unreasonably enjoy of these tusked apes, a foot taller than the shade, heavier, stronger, and they talk like this! It's just unreasonably amusing me for some reason, and I have no idea why.
When I checked the second one mentioned. Go check the feed from the hole down below! The lead Xeno growled back.
We definitely won't fit the whole thing in there, right? 7, so call that 750, 800, 850, 900. Yeah, no. Good.
I told check the camera. The second one mentioned. Go check the feed from the hole down below! The lead Xeno growled back to the subordinate, who backed out.
Yeah, that definitely didn't sound like a growl.
Camera mentioned. Go check the feed from the hole down below! The lead Xeno growled back to the subordinate, who backed out of the lift. This left Vincent alone with the other Xeno. He watched the tusk ape start to sniff in the air, and his hand tightened around the hilt of his knife. I don't see anything, the other said from outside. Check the heat vision camera! That tells you the shade is coming for us! If we don't kill him when he shows up, then the boss will
Kill him when he shows up, then the boss will kill us instead! Then the boss will kill us instead! Let's grab 2. Approaching the halfway point. $750.
If we don't kill, then the boss will kill us instead! You know, there's a third option, Vincent said, and the Xeno's head whipped around, just as Vincent drove his knife into the Xeno's throat with a clean swipe, already pushing past the Xeno even as his blood began to pour out of the wound. The second Xeno looked up from behind a security console of some sort, reaching for the weapon he'd sat down to work the controls. Vincent quickly tossed the knife out, which buried itself in the howler's shoulder, and as he lived up to his name by howling out in pain, Vincent vaulted the console, slamming the Xeno into the wall, before pulling the knife out and quickly driving it up under the guard's chin, and straight up into his brain. For a moment, Vincent stood there, holding the Xeno up as he heard the death gurgle of the other howler in the lift. He didn't hear any alarms, or yelling. Carefully, he guided the howler's body to the ground, before pulling the knife free and wiping the blood off of the Xeno's green fur. There was a little voice in his head that asked if they also had families, but he told it to shut up and moved down the hall to the nearest corner.
He still didn't hear any activity. Alright, we have passed the halfway point. Yay!
The hall to the new. He still didn't hear any activity. When he finally looked around the corner, he saw a hallway that looked more like the ones in the public areas of the mansion. These weren't the bare hallways he'd seen in the security section. But where was everyone? He heard some talking coming from a door to the side and squeezed his knife tight.
Coming from a door to
Squeezed his knife tight, but then the door opened and he saw 2 of those female bird, elf, Xenos walking out. Were they the same subspecies as the pilots? Oh, I know! He seems to get so worked up when he's writing a speech, but it's just fantastic how he can whip up a rally on campus, isn't it? Oh, totally. He's very charismatic when he gets going. It's just hard to believe with all this money and a big mansion and all, that he still cares about the lower city. Such dedication. And to be invited up to his private penthouse like this, such an honor. He giggled as Vincent frowned. It seemed that Xenos were no less susceptible to
dogs than humans. Our ape boyo has some groupies that quite enjoy his company.
no less susceptible than humans. They walked into another room and out of sight as Vincent shook his head. Was there no communication between citizens of the city? How could no one up here know their vaunted preacher was inciting violence in the streets? Then again, he'd never seen a news program being broadcast before. Did they not have the news? He'd never paid attention because he hated watching the news back home on Earth. But to not have any news? He needed to find out. Perhaps security here was light, since this was the preacher's private penthouse. He moved through the halls, not seeing any of the convenient signs that they had placed in the security area. He roamed the corridors for a few minutes, trying to get a sense of the layout without opening any of the closed doors, when he found a pair of the most ridiculous-looking doors he'd ever seen. They were some sort of wood carved with what looked like religious iconography of a deity. Only, it was clearly the preacher in all the carvings. Figuring this was the best indicator he had, he opened the door.
Drop the 5 to get to 0. Mystic Blade works! Yo, yo, yo! Oh, shoot! I forgot to remove Hubble. Haha, there we go. Absurd humor, that's why it's fun, yeah. I was doing all the editing with Hubble blocking the actual editing, not that it matters.
Of the carvings. The best indicator he had, he opened the door. For a moment, he had to adjust his eyes to the darkness, and his hand went to his knife as he figured it might be a trap. But nothing happened, and he could hear something further in. He kept walking forward as he realized he was in a very dark bedroom. It was a massive four-poster bed, the likes of which he hadn't seen outside of old movies on Earth. There was a bed, the likes of which he hadn't seen outside of old movies on Earth. And the walls. He realized they were paintings of the preacher everywhere. He could also hear a voice. It was faint, but it was definitely the bastard in question. He looked around for a moment and noticed a statue of the preacher in a little alcove to the right-hand wall. He was striking some sort of...
But it was definitely the bastard in question. He looked around for a moment and noticed a statue of the preacher in a little alcove to the right-hand wall. To the right-hand wall, on the right-hand wall. Small error, not gonna fix it. Preacher in a little right-hand wall.
He was striking some sort of noble, or maybe heroic pose, with an outstretched arm. Vincent had a feeling and reached up, pulling on the arm. As he did, it made the other arm rise up, and a section of the wall next to the statue slid away, to reveal another dark section of the mansion. He walked into it, and saw bright lights up ahead with a figure
facing away from him. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why you never sit with your back to the door! It's like the preacher didn't read Dune, and he doesn't realize that you should never sit with your back to the door. That's why my office layout, I've got, So my office is right by the front door of my house. So I've got the, you just kind of walk in, and then immediately to your right, you got glass double doors leading into my office. And so if you walk in, you see the back of my monitors, the back of my computer, and you got just like a little bit of space. You walk off to the side towards the window, and then you can go around behind the desk, and that's where I sit here, with full view of the monitors in front of me, bookshelves behind me, and perfect view of anybody that's coming both in and out of the house, or coming into my office. Remember, kids, point your setup in the correct direction. With a figure in a chair facing away from him. A chair facing away from him. He... Down, head on over.
Lights up ahead, chair facing away from him. All this time, and where is the big, bad shade? The patrol is losing ground. His precious team of traitors is being picked off one by one, and we don't see him anywhere. It's because he's a coward. He's probably pissing himself in a corner out of fear of those who rise against him. If I came down there right now, I bet he'd drop to his knees and beg me for his life. The Xeno leaned back in his chair in front of the recording equipment and laughed. I doubt it. Vincent deactivated his camo.
Oh. Turns out we did need that at 700. We don't have a what you see is what you get editor, and that's a pain.
In front of the left. I doubt it. Vincent deactivated his camo just as he stepped up next to the preacher, forcing his hand into the Xeno's mouth as he gasped in shock, yanking the preacher's tongue out as far as he could, and then cutting it off in a swift slice with his knife. As blood began to gush from the wound, the Xeno clutched at his mouth, howling in pain, before Vincent shoved the chair down, with the preacher in it, and started stabbing the Xeno over and over, as he screamed in rage to
that's the Xeno's pain. Whoa there, Vincent. I think you might have some anger issues. Also, we're down to 4 pages! Yay! It does start a new section, so let's just get over there. How bad is the delay on Twitch now? I'd use YouTube, but it doesn't allow you. What won't let's go see how bad the delay is on the Twitch side. Let's turn on Hubble. Oh, geez, it is very bad. Let's just see here. We're at 50-30. Okay, 50-40 right now. And then we just kill some time until the delay resolves itself. Oh, geez. Yeah, it is pretty darn bad. It's way more than a minute now. It's probably at 2 minutes by now. Yeah. How? We're seriously so far behind. This is crazy. Okay, so we're at 1 minute of delay right now, and we're still far back. Don't sit with your back to the door. Not only have you not read Dune, but you've also never seen any Western ever. Yeah, exactly. Do-do-do-do-do. Right, we're now at 2 minutes of delay. It's also hella gay. What are you offering your booty hole to any rando who walks in? We're now at 3 minutes of delay. Hey, come on. You should have gone with Batman's, then start beating Joker. And we're just getting to your question about how bad the delay is. All right, it is officially 4 minutes of delay. Yeah, so Twitch is being its own stupid self and really hates multi output. We're just gonna kill the stream and start it back up again. But, you know, Twitch takes forever. Go, reconnect. All right, we're back on Twitch. Yeah, Twitch being all stupid and everything. Delay should be 0 now. I guess we can turn this on. Yep, yeah, delay's like 2 seconds right now, which is what it should be. So anyway, Freedom Fiend, we can actually communicate. I replied to all your comments, but yeah. Don't sit your back to the door. Not only have you not read Dune, you've also never seen any Western ever. Exactly. It's also hella gay. What are you doing, offering your booty hole to any rando who walks in? Exactly. Do not offer booty holes to anybody. You should have gone with Batman's start beating Joker. Yeah, I'm actually not familiar with that line from Batman. Could you enlighten me, please? Oh, and we're about to get some ads. What is the chat? And Gregor's editing CDW videos. Cool. Should have sent you a letter. It would have been faster. It's from the Adam West era Batman. Just silliness. Ah, yes. Definitely pure silliness, then. But speaking of letters being faster, I'm sure you're familiar with, IPOAC. It's an internet protocol specifically for, places that suffer from low bandwidth or high lag. It stands for IP over Avian Carrier. What you do is you attach a micro SD card to a pigeon's leg, and then you send him to where you want it to go. It's silly, but it's funny. Hang on, I'm gonna pull up the Privacy Hubble again. We're doing this as another one. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Awesome. The page for it though. IP over Avian Carrier. Perfect. Let's undo Hubble. Risks. That's not the one I'm looking for. Aw. They got example of a supposed man in the middle of a man in the middle attack. Yeah, the risks of IP over Avian Carrier. A Gardner report on bird flu that concluded a pandemic wouldn't affect IT systems directly was humorously criticized for neglecting to consider RFC 1149 and RFC 2549 in its analysis. Known risks to the protocol include carriers being attacked by birds of prey, RFC 2549, unintentional encapsulation and hawks has been known to occur, with decapsulation being messy and the packets mangled. Carriers being blown off course, RFC 1149, while broadcasting is not specified, storms can cause data loss. The absence of viable local carriers. In some locations, such as New Zealand, a significant proportion of carriers are only able to execute short hops, and only at times when the background level of photon emission is extremely low. This describes the flightless and nocturnal nature of the kiwi. Loss of availability of species, such as the extinction of the passenger pigeon. Disease affecting the carriers. This is a known risk of infection by the so-called H5N1 virus. I'm assuming that's, yep, bird flu. Network topologies supporting for multicast communication are limited by the homing abilities of carriers. Proved to have no talent for multi-homing and in fact enter a routing loop whenever multi-homing is attempted. Carriers are susceptible to the man-in-the-middle attack. The one I was looking for is the data loss. And I really like pigeons. It makes me sad that they've become all but pests when they've been one of our oldest domestic companions. Yeah. Let's see if I can just view history. Source undid region. Discussed. Here we go. This is the one that I was looking for. Examples of packet loss. Yeah, well, I'm glad I remembered that image, and I'm glad I remembered it was here. Layout. Despite claims to the contrary, cool. Well, I'm glad I found the image I was looking for. Let's pull Hubble back up and see what Discord's trying to tell me. Oh, it's just my own stream announcement. Yay. Alright, let's get back to editing. Seemed enraged to contrast the Xeno's pain. By the time he was able to stop himself,
Covered in blood and straddling an unrecognizable corpse.
contrast the Xeno.
By the time he was able to stop himself, he was panting, covered in blood and straddling an unrecognizable corpse. He got up then, turning to find where he dropped the dismembered tongue before holding it up before the cameras. This is the tongue of a traitor. The patrol seeks only to enforce the law and protect all citizens of the Union. That team being attacked by criminals is filled with patriots who want to make a difference. The path to a better society is filled with hard work and cooperation, not killing and robbing your fellow citizens. Citizens of the city, I am the Shade. My vigilance is eternal. He reached out and pushed the clearly marked off button to deactivate the cameras. Once that was done, he let out a heavy sigh and activated his comm. Handler, did you get that?
Clear as daylight. Broadcast has begun. Yay! The counter broadcast has begun! $750.
Clear. Our broadcast has begun. Vincent connected to Fraven. Mama Bull versus Phoenix. Status. We were getting hit very hard for a moment there, Phoenix. But as soon as you ripped that fucker's tongue out, the attack broke. How is everyone? Almost all of us are wounded at this point. Don't know about Eyes or Gargoyle. We need a medevac priority 1. She sounded excited, but it was tempered with a bit of concern.
Excited, but
concerned. Handler. Vincent asked. Everything I have in the area is already busy. Best I can do is get your team 2 reserved spots at a hospital on level 28.
shit checking Vincent acknowledge handler. Shit checking Vincent acknowledge handler. Good.
Your team 2 reserved on level 28. Ah, shit. Did the sharks pick you up, Mama Bull? Checking. There was a pause. That's affirmative, Phoenix. They're breaking off pursuit. However, without comms with Eyes and Gargoyle, we'd have to leave them behind. Vincent thought it over for a moment.
them behind.
But over for a moment. They should be alright on their own for now. If the crowd was only attacking you guys, they might not even know about eyes and gargoyle. Get loaded in the sharks and get out. Acknowledged, Phoenix. Mama pull out. Vincent sighed and hoped he hadn't lost anyone else today. Handler, hi. He heard a crashing noise and looked back up the hall towards the bedroom.
Uh-oh, Vincent's got company. Nope. Let's take that down to 600. Here.
You heard a crashing in the hall towards the bedroom. Oh, the shit might still be here! Get in there! He didn't have his metal weapon thing on the broadcast! I bet he's only got that knife! Oh, wait!
On the broadcast!
He's only got that knife! Oh, we can corner him! Vincent looked down at his blood-covered torso. Fuck. He pulled the magnum free and took cover behind the recording equipment, hoping the lights might make it hard for the oncoming guards to spot him. Do you have anything in my area, Handler? That's a negative, Trade 88. Phoenix, this is the counselor. You heard Mock speak up. Listen to me very carefully. Have you encountered hostile forces belonging to the tax collectors?
Subtract another 50, get that to 5. It's the preacher's girlfriend. She's 800 pounds and madder than a hornet. Nah, he seemed to have good taste in Xenos. The bird elf ladies, of all the Xenos that have been described, I think they're definitely top tier.
Have you encountered forces belonging to the tax collectors? Yes. He didn't hesitate. Several attacked me earlier, even after I declared myself a patrol detective. That was mostly a lie, but he had a feeling Mock needed him to say something like that. I'm sending in my security team to assist you. Hang tight. I'll see what I can do. Vincent grumbled as he saw the guards advancing down the hall. He turned on his camo, hoping it might do some good despite the blood all over him. There were advancing Satyr and a few Howlers. He counted 8 altogether, and he had a 6-shot revolver. Fuck. Normally, he didn't give a shit about survival, but with that data device in his pocket, he couldn't
to die now. Or to die now. There were to die now. There were device in his pocket. He couldn't afford to die now. They were walking toward. Darn it! I can hear my mouse click in the background. Afford to die now. Yep. He couldn't afford to die now. They were walking. Yep. Ah. I wish I had a good way of removing it. Oh well, it's gonna stay there. I'm gonna get some background music at some point. I think I've already mentioned this. I've spoke with a stream friend of mine. He's gonna be. I'm gonna provide a Polish language dub for their animation. They'll make me some background music track. Are you suggesting having an interest in 800-pound giantess is in poor taste? I'm implying. I'm neither suggesting nor implying. I'm explicitly stating that an interest in an 800-pound giantess girlfriend is poor taste. Definitionally speaking. Let's see if we can squeeze 3 paragraphs. We can. $650.
A data device in his couldn't afford to die now. They were walking towards him down the hall when there was an explosion that shook the building. Someone is attacking. They are in a patrol craft. One of the satyrs stated. We need to destroy documents. You have to get revenge later. Oh, the hell we will! Now I'm tired of taking funny orders from you parasites! Always too good to work with us! Always bossing us around! We have to avenge the boss right now before the shit gets away! The Xenos faced off across from one another. Vincent thought it over for a moment, and then just fired his gun into the ceiling. The Xenos began to fire upon one another. One of the Howlers tackling a satyr and ripping out his throat with those pointed tusks. 2 Howlers were still alive, including the one who had tackled the satyr before he got up, and saw something in the satyr's hand.
Couldn't even finish the sentence. Alright, down to 2 pages. Bet you wouldn't say that in front of my Amazonian Adami mommy. Ugh. Ew. Brother, ew.
And saw something. Vincent ducked behind the recording equipment as the explosion rattled the room. When he looked back out, no one else in the room was alive. In Phoenix, get to the roof, he heard Mock say, and quickly moved forward. For some reason, he didn't want to leave the body of the preacher behind, as it might disappear once he was out of the room. But as he heard screams and another explosion shook the building, he got moving. There weren't any other security personnel rushing towards his position, which was good, but he saw females of various species screaming as they carried what looked like clothes and other personal belongings out of their various rooms and down the hall. He grabbed one by the arm as she exited her room. It was a Vernac who looked at him with wide eyes as she dropped an armful of jewelry onto the floor. Don't kill me!
But yeah, you know, the fact that the dragons are the rulers here literally means that the city has its own caste of reptilian overlords. And then the Vernac are the reptilian non-overlords.
Or, don't kill me! I'm not here for that. I only kill criminals. Where's the way to the roof? She shakily pointed past him towards the service door, and he let her go, running towards it. When he looked back over his shoulder, she was picking up the jewelry, so he figured she wasn't too shaken up. There was a short stairwell up to the roof, and, as he came out, he saw 5 howlers setting up what looked like some sort of AA emplacement.
Setting up what looked like
emplacement. Get the battery in place! They're going around again! One was shouting. He aimed his magnum with both hands and shot one of the crew in the back. The others turned and tried to scatter, but he caught the second in the clavicle. The howler spun around and landed with a thud, face first onto the gravel up on the roof. The third was in the gunner's seat, trying to lower the emplacement towards Vincent, but being a sitting target made it all easier for Vincent to shoot him.
Had a keyboard click there that I could at least isolate and remove. $700. All right, my printing's all finished, so I'm gonna hit the sack. It'll be painful, but worth it. Good night. All right, you have a wonderful night, and remember, democracy is a government of the people, by, for. But the people are retarded, so it is a government of retarded. By the retarded. For the retarded. My favorite bit of wisdom from Ocho, something like that. The most hilarious cult leader ever.
Being a sitting tier for Vincent to shoot him in the head. Vincent finally had to duck behind some sort of vent or AC unit, as the other two began to shoot at him. He waited until both of them stopped firing, and waited out to see each of the Xenos reloading their weapons. Rookie mistake. He fired on the first, but the round went a little wide, raising
you.
He fired the round went a little wide, raising the creature's shoulder. The Xeno howled just before Vincent put the next round into his chest. He took aim on the last and pulled the trigger, only to hear click. He'd forgotten to reload the shot he'd fired to set off that Satyr howler standoff. Fuck! He had to lean back around the AC unit when the Xeno started firing again. Before he could reload, however, one of those Dragonfly-type craft flew in low overhead and dropped off a squad of Mox Silver Saber. The Xeno couldn't change his aim quick enough and quickly got cut down in a hail of energy fire. Shade, we're here to secure the building. Your transport is incoming, the squad leader told him before they rushed down the
He'd used to get up here. Go.
Before he'd used to get up here. He was expecting another Dragonfly, but instead saw what looked like a standard patrol craft swoop in. He quickly ran over to it, jumping up into the main hold before it started to lift off. He saw more of Mox commandos advancing on the estate down below, while howlers fired back on them. Screaming civilians were scattering this way and that. Then Vincent spotted a familiar figure down below. It was the security chief. A howler near him went down, dropping his weapon. The howler started to move towards it, and Vincent whispered under his breath, "Don't do it. Don't you fucking do it." But the howler ignored the weapon, and picked the wounded howler up instead, hauling him away from the fight in a fireman's carry. Vincent sighed and hoped he'd made the right choice regarding that particular Xeno. Not like he could have made the shot from this distance in a moving craft anyway. Handler, I thought you didn't
one in this area.
And she didn't have anyone in this area. I don't have any teams, no. That craft is one of the Council's private transports. They're in a private session, however, so they don't need it right now. I'm guessing they want to debrief me.
they want.
First, you're heading to the Supreme Chair's estate. A certain official wants today's memories classified immediately. That would be Mark. Vincent was curious about the data device in his pocket that he'd taken from the hostile satyr earlier, but then he remembered something. You have chocolate and booze delivered to the estate. Get there. Have chocolate estate when I get there. What? Why? Can you? Yes, I suppose. Good. I'll need it, but I don't have time to explain. All right, then. Vincent had all the time in the world to explain. He just wasn't going to. No way Cavazor would understand why he was planning on giving that stuff to one of the criminals inside the Supreme Chair's private prison. He kept looking at the device in his hand, and I really wondered if that art thief bird knew how to break encryptions.
Alrighty. That is tomorrow's episode of Memories of Creature 88, successfully edited. Creature 88, Creature 34, Creature 34.mp4, yeah! Woo! Alright. Let's get the next one going. Mission Troublemakers. Troublemakers 080. Oh. But while that's rendering, and we can give our CPU a little extra cooling. Perfect. And Audacity. Save. Close. Good. That's right. Oh. That's from Walk Like an Egyptian. Normalize. Let's let that thing render. Yeah. Just needed to double check that my spacing there at the end was correct. Something. No. No dragging. You. Ray. 30. Justification. And let's get to work.
something near Drake and Halcyon, making the swordsman duck and Halcyon flinch down as they practically leapt into the melee. A massive agrabah arm swung over their heads as a plow blade fell behind them, a barrier against the Gecknocean's small arm fire. More plow blades fell on either side of the first, locking into place and creating a barrier surrounding the remaining humans and androids. Halcyon panted heavily as the swordsman straightened, picking over the barricade and ducking back down with a curse as a gauss slug ricocheted off his helmet. The swordsman laughed humorlessly, touching the dull streak of metal where Durasteel had rubbed off on Titanite like graphite on paper. Halcyon caught his breath and looked at his visibly diminished forces, the sound of blaster fire slowly ceasing as Halcyon's heart sank. A roll call! How many are left? There was a soft murmuring amongst the fighters. Eventually an android stepped forward, visor displaying a semi-frowny face.
Always funny to have those androids that communicate with frowny faces. $700.
A blue semi. We've lost roughly 200 humans, another 100 injured, Sir Halcyon. All androids are accounted for, however, many of us are damaged. Halcyon lowered his head. The battle had only raged for a little more than 10 minutes, and they'd already lost a quarter of their fighting force. He began to pace and curse, breathing rapid, shallow breaths, as he tried to plan his way out of the situation. His foot brushed something and his eyes locked onto it. It was a severed human hand. The flesh at the wrist charred and torn as it still held onto the handle of a broken hatchet. Its owner nowhere to be seen. Halcyon collapsed to his knees, falling back against the nearest plow blade and hugging his knees to his chest. They were all going to die here. What is your plan, Sir Halcyon?
Is your plan, Sir Halcyon? $750, any italics, no italics.
Going to die is your plan, Sir Halcyon. The swordsman asked, stepping in front of Halcyon as he slowly sheathed his sword and pulled his helmet off. The swordsman shook a dark, greasy hair out of his eyes, his scarred face expressionless as he tucked the helmet beneath one arm. Halcyon looked up at the scarred swordsman, mind blank with terror. I don't know. What can we do other than surrender? What can we do other than surrender? The swordsman's face twisted with fury as he abruptly leaned down.
Other than surrender. The swordsman's face twisted with fury as he abruptly
grabbed Halcyon by his armor, the metal creaking as the swordsman crushed it into a handle, before hauling Halcyon up so they were face to face. The swordsman's breath smelled like sulfur and cheese as they aggressively growled. Give up. Give the fuck up! People die, Halcyon. That's life. That's war. If you give up, their deaths are for nothing. You spit on their graves, on their conviction, on the life they lived.
Yeah. Never surrender. Never. No fucking.
Graves, on the life they lived. The swordsman shook the terrified Halcyon like a ragdoll before continuing. Never surrender. Never give up. Look at me. Look at me! Halcyon.
Never give up. Never surrender. Good old Galaxy Quest.
Look at me. Halcyon slowly, timidly met the swordsman piercing green eyes. He swore he could see a small...
Timidly met the swordsman piercing... I cannot pronounce swordsman's for some reason. That's the second time I made the same mistake. I'm saying swordsman instead of swordsman's.
Halcyon slowly met the swordsman piercing green eyes. He swore he could see a small village in a grassy plain for a moment, before the swordsman shook him again. Before again, victory or death. No half measures. No giving up. No fucking pity parties. You are the leader. You need to set the example. Now, stand on your own 2 feet and give your orders. You gave them hope. You led them here to fight. Are you really going to tell them it was all for fucking nothing?
It's all for fucking nothing! Down to 2 pages already. 5.
He was all for fucking. The swordsman dropped Halcyon on his ass with a snarl, before sliding his helmet back on with a couple of audible clicks, and depressing a small metal button on the side by his ear, and asking for the progress on Operation Hold This. Halcyon slowly, shakily got to his feet, the swordsman's words having struck a nerve as he looked at his people. Picking up his halberd, he tried to look as confident as he could, knowing he was failing on all fronts. He tried to speak, his mouth drier than the wasteland soil, and failed. His head falling slightly, the swordsman stepped back up to his side, softly stating, "Give them an order, the best one you can give. A good old friend of mine once told me that you can't save everyone, but it's no sin to try either." Halcyon glanced at the swordsman, before sharply nodding and stilling his nerves. He raised his head and puffed his chest out, pointing his halberd over the plowblade wall, his brain working overtime as he formulated a plan.
Response. Working overtime.
On the spot. "We're surrounded. That simplifies things. On the swordsman." Halcyon glanced at the swordsman. "What's your name?" "Drake. Just Drake." Halcyon nodded and cleared his throat before continuing. "Drake, how long until your operation is complete?"
Oh,
"Drake, operation is complete." The swordsman grinned as the young man in the gambeson appeared next to him, throwing a half-dozen empty canvas satchels on the ground, before handing Drake a small cylindrical device with a red button on the top, a half-used roll of silver tape around their wrist like a bracelet. It was then that Halcyon realized the satchels were emblazoned with a single word: boom. As Drake calmly stated, "It's done. Every third soldier has a pipe bomb on them. Right, Cassius?" Cassius nodded, and Drake turned to the gathered fighters as the androids quickly lined the backs of the power blades, showing them the detonator. Drake gave an incredulous look over his shoulder as a Gignoshan shouted at them through some kind of amplifier, "Surrender now, and your lives will be spared."
nuts. Yeah, we'll do that.
"Surrender now, be spared." Drake turned and peeked over the barricade, shouting back, "Oh, shut your fucking trap and die spectacularly." Drake pushed the button. The roar of dozens of sequential operations ripped through the enemy ranks as he...
Operations? How did I even get operations there? Uh, 555. The roar of dozens of... The roar of dozens of sequential explosions. Normalize, that's better. Now we can... The roar of dozens of sequential operations ripped through the enemy ranks as he screamed for them to charge. The plow blades lifted and Halcyon joined the charge. The roar of dozens of sequential explosions ripped through the enemy ranks as he... The roar of dozens of sequential explosions ripped through the enemy ranks as he screamed for them to charge. Wow, no. I need to read that much slower. What? Or I could not even be at the right location anymore. Did we get to the start? I don't know. Oh, by doing that, undo. Now I gotcha. The roar of dozens of sequential explosions ripped through the enemy ranks as he screamed for them to charge. The plow blades lifted and Halcyon joined the charge directly behind the front line. little bit faster. The roar of dozens of sequential explosions ripped through the enemy ranks as he screamed for them to charge. The roar of dozens of sequential explosions ripped through the enemy ranks as he screamed for them to charge. The roar of dozens of sequential operation. I did operations again, how? The roar of dozens of sequential explosions ripped through the enemy ranks as he screamed for them to charge. That was even slower. The roar of dozens of sequential explosions. That was just poor enunciation. The roar of dozens of sequential explosions ripped through the enemy ranks as he screamed for them to charge. There. L. U and U effect. No. Tracks. Mix and render. Effect. And normalize. Normalize this, jackass. Audio open. Surrender v2.m4a. Beat good. We didn't need to. There. Good. Operations, remove track. Break pushed the button. Dozens of sequential explosions ripped through the enemy ranks as he screamed for them to charge. The plow blades lifted and Halcyon joined the charge directly behind the front line. His eyebrows shot into his hairline as he saw the absolute carnage and disarray the Technosians had been thrown into. Thrown into such disarray that they didn't even fire at the charging humans and androids. A foot suddenly shoving off his shoulder almost knocked him over as the swordsman used it like a springboard, sailing over the head of the lead Agrabah as their sword burst into pale, smokeless flames midair. Halcyon didn't have enough time to truly appreciate the brutal majesty of the scene before him, as they all crashed into the confused and suddenly terrified Technosian lines for one last push. They'd either rise victorious or die trying. As they say, live free or die hard. Alright, save that. Export to Troublemakers 80. Render. Yay! So we can save that audio file. Oh, yay. Audacity decided to start crashing on us. Let's not let that happen. Good. Fixed itself. No. That can close. Already we got less shit running, and that makes things better. Just technically go ahead and move that over there. We don't need that one. Close that. Yay. Versatility of the human spear. Gatling, got it. Small. Let's get versatility of the spear chopped up. Yeah. When you have a cut right at the start, it tells you how well some things went. Catlin got it right. Yeah, that's good. A effect. Normalize. Okie dokie. Doki Poki. Export. One shots. Random 3x. Versatility of the human spear. Gatling got it right. And let's let that render. Um, um, that. One shots, random 3x, the versatility of the spear, the versatility of the human spear. Complete. Um, 1728. Background color. Justification and size.
Spear by Random 3x. The versatility of the human spear by Random 3x. It was often debated 3x. It was often debated what the most useful and enduring weapon amongst the member species was. Arguments would go on and on for endless hours, with no resolution ever in sight. They had many other features that would have worked just as well, but the range their claws gave them.
Seriously.
With no resolution ever in sight. They had many other features that would have worked just
Do normalize. Pop you over there. No resolution ever in sight. They had many other features. No, no, no. No, no, no. These are clearly the better weapons. No resolution ever in sight. I believe it is. I believe it is clearly the fangs, a wolf-like Anuxus declared as he thumped his fist against the table. To the Anuxus, their fangs were their first and foremost weapons. Their entire culture developed around getting in close range and attacking with them. Even when they developed modern technology, ranged weapons were seen as dishonorable for many generations. No, no, no. These are clearly the better weapons. The Tuknik clacked its pair of mantis-like claws. Once again, to the Tuknik, their claws were their race's first and most reliable weapon. Ever in sight. I believe it is clearly the fangs. A wolf-like Anuxus detect. Normalize. Export. Versatility of the human spear. 2. Ever in sight.
Other features that would have worked just as well.
The versatility. Track. The versatility of
By random 3x.
100, centered. What do you know? It looks professional.
The versatility by random 3x. It was often debated what the most useful and enduring weapon amongst the member species was. Arguments would go on and on for endless hours, with no resolution ever in sight. I believe it is clearly the fangs, a wolf-like Anuxis declared, as he thumped his fist against the table. To the Anuxis, their fangs were their first and foremost weapons. Their entire culture developed around getting in close range and attacking with them. Even when they developed modern technology, ranged weapons were seen as dishonorable for many generations. No. These are clearly the better weapons. The Tooknik clacked its
mantis-like claws. $650. Tooknik clacked its claws.
Once again, to the Tooknik, their claws were the race's first and most reliable weapon. They had many other features that would have worked just as well, but the range their claws gave them was by far a greater advantage than even the Anuxis fangs. For those of us not born with natural weapons, I would suggest a humble club. A mountain of muscle that was a grok declared, thumping his fist on the table this time, leaving a deep indent in the metal. Throughout the grok's history, they had been simple brutes who never understood the need for tactics. If a war was declared,
who never understood.
If a war was declared, the forces would march up to each other in a single long line and hit each other on the head back and forth till one of them died, with the victor being the one with more survivors.
Tail. Sigh.
And hit each forth till one of them died, with the victor being the one with more survivors. Even after being aided by the more technologically advanced races, the grok preferred direct confrontation and made heavy use of energized blunt weapons. I imagine I could crush both your skull and carapace with one thump, the grok declared with a boisterous laugh. What of you, human? The Anuxis asked. The most useful weapon humanity ever really made was the spear. A spear? The Tooknik repeated with a dismissive tone. Ever since both races joined the Council Alliance, there had been some level of tension between them. The Anuxis and grok could only
hail alongside. Turns out the humans really don't like the bugs. Should come as no surprise.
Could only exhale alongside. Yes, a spear. The most versatile and simple weapon humanity can make. You see, we weren't born with natural weapons like you two, he explained, gesturing to the Anuxis and the Tooknik. And while we did develop the club, it was quickly outpaced by the spear.
You need to bump up to 750.
The club outpaced by the spear. Why not a sword? The Anuxis asked, having maintained his family's tradition of training with the weapon since he was a pup. Swords take training to master, but a spear is as simple as a club, but a magnitude more versatile. With club, you have to get in close. Yes, for honorable combat. To thump the enemy! Combat. With a spear, though, I can stay a safe distance away from my enemy. Humans naturally don't like the idea of dying, so if I can stab you from over here, I will. The human mind, thrusting a spear to demonstrate. What if they are out of reach of the spear? The Tooknik asked. We would just run up and hit them, the grok declared. Well, we simply throw the spear. Once again, he mimed the action. A spear, unlike a club, is aerodynamic. It can fly and hit someone out of reach. But the best part of a spear is not only how simple it is, but how much its strength multiplies when you have more people with spears. Like with our cut lines.
Get a little extra there. Nope. So? Down to a 650.
People with spears. Like with our cut lines. A bit. But with thousands of spears behind a shield wall, humans became an unstoppable force. Even people using swords were left wanting when they faced a spear wall. The best part is, you don't have to train too much to use a spear. Mostly stand here and use the pointy end. I see what you mean. A simple but versatile weapon. And when masked with many, they would overcome a lot of enemies. The Enoxes pondered aloud. I would have assumed you would have named firearms after all. Your race developed them relatively early compared to the rest of us. The human chuckled at this observation. Never heard of a bayonet? The three shook their heads.
It creates triangular wounds, which can't be stitched together. Just the way the founding fathers intended. All right, I gotta find that. Gotta find that copy pasta. Hang tight. Just as the founding fathers intended meme. Own a musket for home defense, since that's what the founding fathers intended. Or ruffians break into my house. What the devil? As I grab my powdered wig and Kentucky rifle. Blow a golf ball-sized hole through the first man. He's dead on the spot. Draw my pistol on the second man. Misses him entirely because it's smoothbore. And nails the neighbor's dog. I have to resort to the cannon mounted at the top of the stairs loaded with grape shot. Tally-ho, lads! The grape shot shreds two men in the blast. The sound and extra shrapnel set off car alarms. Fix bayonet and charge the last terrified rapscallion. Bleeds out waiting on the police to arrive, since triangular bayonet wounds are impossible to stitch up. Just as the founding fathers intended. Right, the original version. My musket for home defense. Finally, one night I hear a crash. Don my powdered wig and petticoat. Musket is ready to fire. My home surround sound is also primed and ready to play the Royal Hussars. Hit play. Tally-ho, lads! Run downstairs and into my living room. Two men are carrying my TV. Put a baseball-sized hole in one. The other attempts to drop my TV and run. Affix bayonets, gentlemen! Charge after them. Jam my bayonet into his anus as he tries to climb back through a broken window. Call police. Have tea ready for them. Oh. Um. Okay.
Even when we made guns, we made a blade to stick on the end of them, because when we could not shoot, we could still use them as a spear. We still keep spears in mind even now. The human replied as he took out his service rifle. The three remembered when the humans first arrived, there was a massive stir regarding their weapons. The weapon had a shield generator built into its body, while the shot itself had a magnitude of penetration. Even some laser shooters failed to match. Beyond that, the rifle had a hard-like blade that protruded from the head of the rifle. Even now, many shuddered at the memory of the demonstration, where the shields overlapped and made it nigh impossible to injure the human.
While they could fire with impunity. 6, 7, 350. Impossible to.
While they could fire with impunity. So that light blade is a bayonet? The Tooknik asked, to which the human nodded. Yes, this is the Special Penetration Electromagnetic Acceleration Rifle Mark I. Spear for short. Even with all our technology, we do love our spear walls. The human finished with a smirk. That, and our military acronyms. He added before chuckling once more. More.
Gatling got it right. Also by Random 3X. He added before.
Gatling got it right. Also by Random 3X. Human Hugo, we must prepare the station's defenses. The Krumjar swarm are already in the system. Maka, the large reptilian alien, begged as he looked at the human head of security for the Earthlink space station. Don't worry, Maka, we have this. Hugo replied, opening a defense chest and taking out a piece of machinery with multiple pipes, connecting to a strange mechanism. Is that a weapon of some kind? Maka asked hopefully. Indeed it is, dear Maka. This is known as a minigun. Hugo explained as he tested the rotation of the pipes. That is an updated version of a very old weapon. How old, human Hugo? Maka asked.
How old, human Hugo? Hey, Aiden Shark, how goes? How you doing, buddy? Don't think I've seen you in a while. Oh, yeah. We're just editing some HFY stuff. Good to have you back. It's also nice for the stream to not be lagging behind. Like at the hour mark, Twitch was 4 minutes behind what I was doing, so I'm glad it's actually back to normal now. Yeah. But hey, we got a little bit of story we're editing. We're getting close, like 2/3 of the way through the third thing we've been editing. And then I guess we'll continue on with chapter number 4 at the end, and yeah. that's gonna be our stream. Just more and more of that.
What? Maka asked. The original gun was made in the 1860s, so several centuries already. You are using such primitive weapons? Please. This design was already successful and was first invented all those centuries ago. We just stuck an electric engine onto the mechanism to make it go even faster. Hugo reassured her as he hooked the minigun into a mount and linked the metallic belt. But the swarm are endless. You need a rate of fire that is so absurd just to meet them head on as you are. Maka protested. Please, Maka. This little baby can manage about 50 rounds per second.
Do you have Fallout New Vegas? No, I do not. Or at least it is possible that I may have it somewhere, like as one of a freebie that I've downloaded at one point or another. But I've never played it, and if I did get it as a freebie, I never installed it. Why? Why do you ask?
This little about 50 rounds per second. 50? Yes. The old gun was nowhere near as fast.
There's a multiplayer mod for it. Ah, okay, cool. Yeah, no, I've never played anything from Fallout, so I wouldn't know.
Manage about 50? Yes. The old gun was no second. 50?
Sorry for asking. Hey, no apologies. No need to apologize in the slightest.
This little about 50 rounds per second. 50? Yes. The old gun was nowhere near as fast, but we ramped it up to go even faster. Hugo replied, giving the gun an affectionate pat. Still a human Hugo. Even with the whole station's security forces using such weapons, it may not be enough. Please. We did more than make it go faster, Maka. Hugo replied, trying to reassure his friend. Go to that panel and look up the file labeled It Go. Maka followed the suggestion and went up to a wall-mounted terminal and searched for the file. Opening the document, he was shocked to see the same design, but far larger, firing rounds that were significantly larger than the ones he could see being
to the minigun. Yeah, anyway, Aiden, I mean, aside from the Fallout New Vegas mod, how you been? Any interesting games you've been playing lately? Anything been keeping you busy? All that usual stuff? 760, get to 100. Boom. Grounded. Ah, dude. What'd you do to get grounded? And Shin Megami Tensei 5. Oh wait, Grounded 2 as a game name, right? I'm like, I was confused there for a second. Yeah, okay.
Significant ones you could see being fed into the minigun. This may be able to take on a Hive Knight, Maka muttered, looking at the design. This station has several hundred of those babies as point defense weapons. These miniguns are just for the scraps that make it through. Hugo explained, giving a playful wink. But human Hugo, this gun has an even higher rate of fire, Maka pointed out, as a holographic display of the weapon appeared, displaying its statistics. It used to get put on fighter jets with the intent of strafing tanks and rendering them to scrap, Hugo explained. This may still not be enough, human Hugo. The swarm's numbers may still survive even these. Hugo, in response, only began to chuckle. Maka, tell me the name of this station.
And it sounds like they use Gallade Avengers as point defense weapons on the station. 60. Guess we gotta go now. No. Just get to recoil. So we'll take that to 500. Nope. 550.
Mock, the name of this station. Well, it is known as the Gatling Station. Maka replied, unsure of Hugo's point. Look at the design of the overall station. Maka complied and brought up the schematics of the entire station. And only then did he understand. He had always wondered why the station needed such powerful engines when its mass was not anywhere near high enough to warrant them. But to counter the recoil of a gun to the size of the station itself, a Gatling gun with a station built around it, well, then you'd need a pretty good engines just to overcome the constant recoil.
Recoil.
Well, then you'd need just to overcome the constant recoil. We have enough full rounds for the station to fire into the swarm for 2 minutes. Then the point defense will take over for what little survives. Finally, the few barely living scraps, we got our minis. Still think we can't hold out against the swarm? To be honest, human Hugo, I now kind of pity the creatures, as they don't know the storm they are approaching.
Woo! Alright, let's get rid of that and save. Sport. One shots, random 3x. The versatility of the human spear. Woo! Ha 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 ha! While that's rendering, that can save. And this can save. That's good. Save. And we're down to the last track and chapter of the night. We're actually being proactive for once. Instead of one stream doing 3 chapters and getting 1 week's worth of stuff, we're doing 4. And we'll get 1 1/3 of a week done instead. And that's how you build a backlog. Oh. Of course, the fact that my Monday chapter is longer than the Wednesday and Friday chapters put together really kind of means it's more like a week and a half rather than 1 1/3, but it's all right. Got that. Control A, effect. Normalize. Export. Memories of creature 88, creature 35, creature 35, render. Nation. Creature 88. Creature 35. Bubble. Right. Finished. Track. Creature 88. 5. Creature 35.
2 weeks ago, Vince
Hey, we already got a spammer. You're a spammer. You're a home. Killed a spammer? There we go. Spammer defeated. Ho 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 ho. Eight. Charcoal background color. Light gray foreground color. Size 30. Full justification. Just 11 pages left to process, and hopefully we can do this in about an hour. Nice if we could do it that fast. More or less, roughly. Yeah, I guess while I'm thinking about it. Oh, I guess, yeah. Change you to blue since you're rendering. Been rendered. That one is rendering. And low 35. Yay. Yay. Yeah, just thinking ahead. Super Robot Wars, we we need a Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday release next week. That's what we're still missing. I'll try to do an earlier stream than usual tomorrow, like just after work or something, and shoot for like maybe 6 hours of streaming or whatever. Yeah, we can. That'll hopefully let me record Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, maybe even Monday of next week. Monday of next week would be great if we could do that also. That's what we'll be doing. And Tuesday we'll be doing a some more SD Gundam G Generation Eternal for next week. Yeah. Sounds like a plan. That's the next thing in store. Yeah, I was just using that to kill a little bit of time. Take a little extra break, let my mind wander for a bit before we get pulled back in. Compound. 2 weeks ago,
Been to Latero's private home. Yet in the past 2 weeks since his first visit, he'd probably been there more than his own apartment. As he passed by the city on his way up from the preacher's compound, he had time to think. But for once, he really wasn't sure what to focus on. Sparing a criminal, killing the preacher, figuring out what's on the device, striking down that strange dragon, wondering if his team was okay. Vincent glanced around the craft for a moment, and actually took a seat instead of standing in the door holding onto the railing like normal. He wasn't sure he could do all this on his own anymore. Thinking back on his time as the supposed chief of security for the EE, he realized how little planning and managing he did for the overall security. He just picked a few people to manage certain tasks, and spent his time preparing for heists or attacking opposing rallies. Maybe the problem here was he had no fucking clue what the limits were to his authority. He was technically just a detective, but as Mock pointed out, he never was, and never would be, a normal detective. And never would detective. Sometimes he felt like he needed a secretary. Well, he had Cavazor. However, the Urvesh would never really be a secretary, especially not if Vincent asked him straight up to be a secretary. Vincent really didn't know what he needed help with. He didn't even know where to start. No one could take his place in physical investigations because of who he was, but he also needed to find time to train and assist the new team he was supposed to be leading. Not to mention, he desperately needed someone to figure out how to best work up trust and communication between citizens of the upper and lower cities. He needed like 3 or 4 versions of himself. As he realized that, he let out a laugh and shook his head. There were many more of him than that, but only one active at a time. He still wasn't sure if that was some sort of worm safeguard, or if somehow his consciousness was part of the equation. Times before, you could only ask priests and philosophers about souls and the ethereal being. Now, you could also ask psychologists and neuroscientists. Only none of them were human, and none of them knew how the worm technology worked.
So it still wasn't any help.
And none of them knew it worked. So it still wasn't any help. His train of thought was suddenly interrupted, however, when he got a call over his comm. Phoenix.
However, when he got a
Phoenix, this is Mama Bull. Read you, Mama Bull. What's the status of the team?
Mama Bull. Read you, Mama Bull.
Team. Hans and Lums are both pretty hurt. They took a lot of fire because they think they're immortal. The doctors have them. Serious injuries, but they'll survive. The serious injuries, but they'll survive. Not sure how long they'll be out. Joker took some fire as well, but he insists he's fine. The doctors are checking him out, but I think with some accelerated healing he'll be back in a day or two. What about Jib? The crafty little bastard doesn't have a scratch on him. I don't know how either, because he was setting off explosions left
down there. I have half a mile sign lucky, which is give him the call sign lucky. Yep, that was a 650. Right down there.
Mine to just give him the call sign lucky, which is invariably bad luck when you're already called the Lucky 13. Vincent replied with a smirk. See if anything else fits him. Any word from Eyes or Gargoyle? Oh, yes. As we were heading out, Eyes signaled us with a mirror. The sharks are heading back to pick them up. And Witch Doctor? There was a pause, and he started to fear the worst, before Frey responded. Witch Doctor what? Clearly confused. No, not Witch Doctor. Call sign. Vincent growled out after getting worried.
And good way to fake us out. He was worried, thought Witch Doctor was dead. But no, Frey just forgot the call sign, because turns out Witch is a terrible thing to include in your call sign. It's a homophone with Witch. And it only causes confusion.
Call sign growled out after getting worried. Oh, she's doing fine. Well, physically. I think this one might have been hard for her, since it's really her first attempt at squad medic. She's really just there to apply pressure, wrap wounds.
Squad medic.
Just there to apply pressure, wrap wounds, and give painkillers. But I've been telling her that's all most medics are. She still feels like she isn't helpful enough. I'll work it out. All right. Something else we need to talk about. No one else like Wenskin Burge. My people have a long history of stories about questionable choices in suicidal teams like this, but in reality, I'd rather not risk it. I know, but I literally picked the best choices. It was fairly slim pickings. Vincent could hear the edge of sorrow in her voice before she perked up. But after you cut the preacher's tongue out live, I'm sure
we get more applicants. Yeah. Cutting his tongue out on his own live broadcast. Talk about a badass way of ending a threat. The preacher's tongue.
I'm sure we'll get more applicants. Which brings up yet another point. I need you off the front lines. You're too useful behind the lines, and you're the oldest member of the team by far. When you feel like there are two competent squad leaders, I'm going to have you stay in the HQ. The hell I will? She said, suddenly angry. I'm busting my ass for you in this city. What makes you think you can tell me what to do? Because I'm officially your boss. Mama Bull, look, you're good. Very good. But you're up there in your years. That first time you followed Witch Doctor and helped me out, I had to pick you up to run fast.
I had to pick you.
You're fine if you get a ride, but if you'd had to run from the fire station to the building site like I did, could you have done it without slowing down and endangering everyone else? The silence answered his question.
Endangering everyone else?
Answered his question. I mean it when I say that you're too useful to be on the front line.
his question.
I mean it when I say that you're too useful to be on the front lines. You've got too much experience to waste. I'm also not saying you have to retire right away. We need a new team, and don't count the pilots as part of it. Get me 12 combatants, 2 teams of 6. After today, I'm sure we can swing it. Make sure that you trust both squad leaders, and then find a third for backup before you stay back. But it's time to start working on it. We have to think about this top down. I can't really share my expertise because it involves dying over and over again. But you can teach the new generation. I'd rather have 12 rookies trained by an expert than one expert. All right. I know you're right. It's just... I'll get to work on it, Phoenix. Tell everyone I'm proud of them as well. I will tell them in person first chance I get. But seriously, I'm very proud of you and the team today. The Rensker
family. Because it involves dying over and over. It's the first chance I get. But seriously, I'm very proud of you and the
Rensker Burge have any family?
Burge have
just each other. Start a memorial wall back in the base, and make sure they're buried today. Burge have any family? Just each other. Start a memorial wall back in the
Rensker.
Just each other. Start a memorial wall back in the base, and make sure they're buried with honors, or whatever the closest cultural equivalent is. He saw the estate ahead of the craft rising out of the fog. I gotta go. Phoenix out. Mama Bull out. He heard her reply before he ended the call. Once the craft landed, he was hopping out and heading to the entrance quickly. The door opened for him without any issue, and as he started walking down the hall, he paused. Ah, shit. I forgot about the chocolate. The requested package was dropped off before your arrival. That was his computer said, as Vincent looked up at the ceiling. It was hard to break that habit.
Where is it? We won't fit all of it. Nope. The ceiling.
Habit. Where is it? It's been placed in the main room on the bar. Excellent, thank you. Also, where can I get pencils and paper and such? If you follow the lights, I can lead you to the private library. The lights shifted and Vincent kept walking forward. In the main room he was most familiar with, he saw the package in question and grabbed it, before walking up another hall he'd never been in. Soon he was in a library that made him pause. The metal shelves all looked very neat and organized, which he expected, but the fact that he could see markers for a filing system made him shake his head. A private library in the estate, and a
fucking filing system? All right. We're making progress. That's what's important. Hey, and we just officially hit midnight. Yay! Gotta hit the bathroom. Be right back. Yo, NYs, you got me with my mouth full. Hello. Greetings and hallucinations. And greetings and salutations to you. Thought that might get a grin. It most certainly gets a grin. Oh. How you doing this fine midnight? A private library in the estate, and it had a fucking filing system. State handling system. There was a wood desk that looked like some sort of Xeno equivalent of mahogany, with some papers in mahogany. I'm alright messing with semi-complete RPG Maker game you found earlier that will remain undiscussed on Twitch. Oh my. In the estate filing system, there was a wood desk that looked like some sort of Xeno equivalent of mahogany, with some papers and pen sign. Then he noticed the box on the floor next to it. As he approached, he could see it was leftovers of Latero's that Vera hadn't moved out yet. With everything else going on, he grabbed a couple sheets of paper, 2 nice-looking pens, and a whole case of what he assumed were charcoal pencils. Briefly, he wondered how many prison guards brought their prisoners' presents, and chuckled to himself before heading back out. He had to follow the lights back to the main room, but once he saw a familiar bar area, he easily navigated to the prison from there. The doors opened without a word, but once inside, he got scanned and the computer spoke up. Alcoholic beverages are not to be permitted beyond this point. Who sets regulations now that your previous owner is deceased? Vincent asked. You do. The robotic voice replied after a second. Yeah. Decay. I'm like, what word did you just use? Decaying. Congratulations, you turned him into a verb. The robotic voice. Then open the fucking door because I'm the one bringing in the alcohol. There was a pause, and then the inner doors opened and let him into the prison. Baldur was in his usual spot up front, close to the edge of the field, while Pyrrha was in her corner. Was that the same corner he'd left her in? It didn't look like anything had been written on the paper she had. Pyrrha, I've got the booze and chocolates you were asking for. The creature started to turn towards him, and then jerked back against the corner as if trying to become smaller. Ah! What vile creature is this? Vincent looked down and suddenly remembered he was in the camo suit with the gleaming skull for a head. Oh, it's me, Vincent, Creature 88. This is a suit. Baldur recognized me. Oh, it's Creature 88. This is a suit. Baldur recognized me, right? He looked back and saw the Viper Xeno withdrawing his pointed fangs. Yeah. To say, I have long since verbed decay. Okay, fair. To say, oh my, in such a manner is to decay. he verbed me. He what? Verbed me. Did you just verb? Yes, I verbed verb. Because normally a verb is a noun, but sometimes, sometimes verb is a noun. Usually verb is a noun, but sometimes verb is a verb. It also released teaser trailer for the new companion for Rogue Trader DLC 3, which was not what you anticipated from the images up on the store page when they put DLC 3's store page up. Oh. Okay.
He looked Rosina withdrawing his pointed fangs. Yeah. Well, this is what my skull looks like under all the flesh. I'll try not to wear this suit here in the future, but it's really me. Suit here in the really me. You want your bride? He held up the package and the inkish blood hesitantly oozed across the floor. He activated the little spot to exchange items and pushed the package inside. The chamber rotated and Pyrrha picked it up, still moving slowly. But once the package was open, she let out a squeal. It's Jasmine Petalite! And Hivix mounted chocolate! Oh, how did you know? The creature seemed to clutch the items to her chest, but since she was a blob, it really looked like she was absorbing them. Vincent didn't know what she was talking about, but played it off. You're a famous criminal, you know. How could I not know?
Ads. Oh, darn.
You're, you know. How could I not know? This will be the perfect inspiration for my poetry! You know, I only developed a taste for this after hearing that he enjoys it himself! She sounded like some schoolgirl talking about her idol. Sure, cool. Vincent muttered as she began to spin around her cell. He then walked down to the vulture. I've got more paper and stuff for you, Caves. Carvus, the Xeno corrected. You discover the obscure luxury comestibles that vapid coquette enjoys to imbibe and consume, yet you can't remember my name. Obscure luxury vapid coquette enjoys to imbibe and consume, yet you can't remember my name. Vincent could tell he was upset. There was a pause for a moment, and then the Xeno's shoulders relaxed. It was simply an act of kismet, wasn't it?
I learned a new word when I was editing this. Kismet. See, they put up 3 images, which are basically character sheets for a Necron, some Chaos Warrior, and fairly detailed stuff for a Guardsman from Krieg. I sort of anticipated the Kriegsman to be the new companion, but instead it looks to be a Magos, Magos biologist of the Adeptus Mechanicus, if I read the teaser right. Okay. First time I hear of a, Magos biologist, but I know a Magos biologist, but makes complete sense what that is. And Boyamas, hello! Let's see what weird things are unleashed in Super Robot Wars in the live stream soon. Yeah, unfortunately, I'm gonna be going to sleep as soon as I finish editing this thing, set it to render, and then upload tomorrow's narration. So, yeah. I will not be awake for it. Completely understandable. Yeah, I might record a reaction to it during work tomorrow, and then just schedule that for a Sunday release or whatever next week. You're familiar with Magos and Admech? Nope, I'm not familiar at all, but I do know what a Magos is in the broad speaking. I mean, it's clearly a term with a root in mage, magi, magic. So, yeah. And I'm also familiar with how Adeptus is also a similar related word. So, yeah, it's just somebody that knows his biology. And because it's Warhammer, they treat biology as if it's frickin' magic. Which I'm sure it kind of probably is. It was simply...
That wasn't it. Whose kismet? Vincent asked before the Xeno let out a sigh. It was an accident. Pure happenstance. Vincent looked back towards Pyrrha's cell, unsure if she was listening, so he nodded and then spoke up. No way, Cavus. I totally did that on purpose, he said with obvious loudness, while now shaking his head, hoping Cavus figured out what he was trying to say. Such is life. The paper? The Xeno said, as Vincent's charade seemed to have soothed his ruffled feathers. Vincent put the papers and supplies into the rotating chamber and activated it to let Cavus get at it. Is this all? He paused when he picked up the papers and inspected them more closely.
These Hero's private library. For the Adeptus Mechanicus, Magos is a rank referring to a full master of some field of knowledge. For reference, your existing companion who's qualified to be a researcher and head engineer for your whole flagship is a Magos. Okay, makes sense. And inspected them.
These from the Terror's private library? Yeah, is that a problem? No, he uses a much higher grade of paper than that package you gave me before. It's a welcome change. The Xeno slowly turned one of the pieces of paper over in his hands as he inspected it. Vincent started to feel like the Xeno wasn't telling him something. Did you know that the Yervesh High Council only uses paper made from a special breed of tree found on their home planet? I'm told it smells like cleaning products. It must be strange to think of the harvesters working all day and coming home smelling cleaner than they left. He chuckled. Don't you think they modeled the smell of cleaning products after the smell of those trees? Vincent suggested as he thought back on some of the stuff they earthed.
Light isn't yet. So yeah, Magos Biologist is a Magos from the branch of the Adeptus Mechanicus that specializes in the wetter, squishier sciences. Speaking of biology and the wetter, squishier sciences, I'm still fascinated and absolutely love a line. I'm pretty sure it's from the author of XKCD, but from one of his What If comics instead of the mainline XKCD comics. And it was just like, what if you get hit by something? And I don't remember if it was a massive gamma ray burst or if it was a pitch at a big fraction of the speed of light. And I just remembered, everybody here dies. They don't really die of anything, as much as it is that they cease being biology and start to become physics. It's like, oh, that is a very good way of explaining what happened. Let me see if I can find it. I've seen that before, but yes, it's a great turn of phrase. Cease to be biology, start to... No? Okay, it was the sunbeam. But you like wetter, squishier sciences for that. I absolutely do. There we go. If you were standing in the path of the beam, you would obviously die pretty quickly. You wouldn't really die of anything in the traditional sense. You would simply stop being biology and start being physics. uh, the sky is dark at night. Citation needed. Because the sun is on the other side of the earth. Citation needed. Yeah, okay, whatever. Enough silliness. Back to work. Work.
Vincent suggests some of the stuff they had on Earth. Oh, the thought never occurred to me. What came first, the tree or the cleaning product? I'll have to ponder this. He nodded before walking further back into his cell. When he opened a panel on the side, Vincent blinked in surprise.
Obviously, it's a tree.
Sheets of paper. As you can see, however, I still managed with nothing but simple paper and pencil. The sheets had drawings on them. Vincent was aware that Zeno was an art thief, but the drawings were incredible. They looked like places somewhere in the city. There was some sort of square with a big statue in the middle. Arches he had never seen before. Light pouring in through these cracks in the sky. They weren't clouds. Are these real places? Yes, they're all from the north sector of the city. Have you ever been up there? That's where most artists live.
Of the city.
Been up there. That's where most of the artists live. How far north? He asked, trying to think about any cases that took him up that way. Perhaps 3 or 4 hours by craft? No. I generally just go straight up and down. I haven't ranged out very far beyond the core of the city. Vincent answered with a shrug. Then you haven't seen much of the real middle class of the city. The core is for the wealthiest and their servants, and then the dregs who have to live as far from the sun as anyone in the Union can get. Vincent had to think about that. Since the shape of the city was roughly a pyramid, he was right. Sector 2 and 1 got sun, but nothing else. So while the top of the city was the most expensive, straight down would be the least desired of all. And so the process to get to my stash will probably take about 5 days. 5 days. So the process will probably take about 5 days. Vincent laughed into Zeno's face. I don't have time for that. Are you kidding me? Latero's death is part of a union-wide conspiracy, too. Look, it doesn't matter. I don't have time for that. Oh, then I'll refine my maps and explain it all later. As he carried the pictures, papers, and other new supplies back, he opened up that same panel in the wall. I didn't know you guys had storage in there. What? Zeno looked back and then waved at the empty cell around him. Did you think we just lived in empty boxes? When the inner doors are opened, our amenities are pulled back into the wall. Didn't you ever wonder about where we sleep, or eat, or who feeds us? Vincent shrugged as the Zeno sighed. Then it's a good thing our survival is taken care of by the computer.
Well, if it's taken care of by the computer, that means the computer can also mess with it. Good. 5 pages left. Backtrack. It's a good thing our survival by the computer.
Anyway, you ever see one of these? Vincent held up the device he'd gained in the raid, and Zeno looked in to look it over. Was it given to a group of satyrs by a dragon? Yes. They're one-shot order encryptions. They can be transmitted over certain channels, but need a special device to be decrypted, and the right key codes in the device. If you don't have those, there's no way to open it. Shit. Vincent muttered, and then looked at the door in the back of the prison. Think Latero has what I need in there?
The Zeno shrugged. All right, Cavus, thanks. I'll let you know when I can get you your stash, but honestly, I'm not sure what you want that you can't make yourself. The sun is hotter than a reptile. Citation needed. Just 2 pages there. 4. Yep.
Dash, but I'm not sure what you want that you can't make yourself. Black, white, and gray are hardly a broad choice of colors, the Xeno dryly replied, as Vincent let himself into the back room. He climbed up into the chair and felt the pinch as the needle sank to his neck. Computer, encrypt memory session, then upload. Passcode Catherine. He leaned back and closed his eyes as the day began to unfold before him yet again, which is when he realized he'd forgotten to sync since the last time he was in this very chair. He saw the drinks with Vera, then the party. Oh, he shuddered as he got a sort of echo of the drugs that had been in his system. And when he got to his apartment, holy shit, this goes on for hours. He exclaimed as he could now clearly see what had happened through the black box's ability to get his senses.
Vincent, learn from the Yervesh. Do not yif. I don't know if a reptile girl counts as that, but don't do her either.
Truly to convey his sense.
Remember, do not suffer the Xeno to live.
See what had happened. Box's ability to convey his senses. Karana was vicious in bed. No wonder he had those teeth marks on his shoulder, and scratch marks all over his back and sides. Fuck! How much did Cavazor have of this? How much did Vera have of this? How the fuck did she bend like that? He realized he was slowing down the memories, and made a conscious effort to push through the recording. He had a lot of the day to go through. Okay. The next morning, talking to Vera and Bach, the team, finding the preacher's hideout, the team assault, the raid on the estate. He watched the memory of him killing the preacher in real time, before speeding back up to fully sync. Once it was done, he shook his head and wondered at what a hell of a day it had been. Finally, though, he was synced once more and shook his head for a moment, as his thoughts drifted back to the night with Karana. Then he held up the data device. Computer, is there a machine here that did this? Computer that can read this. Yes. Vincent was waiting for more before signing out. This computer really wasn't the smartest, was it? He began looking around the terminal, and then found something that looked, well, it looked decently matched, so he tried turning the device around and pressing it in. He felt it click into place firmly, and then waited before the computer spoke once more. Alpha level encryption detected. Vincent was about to sign when it went on. Applying passcodes from memory, passcode matched, displaying information. Up on the screen, he saw a map of the city, and the device was pointing to a specific location. Then, as he watched, it started to pull away from the city. He was confused until the computer spoke again. Determining ship destination from flight plan. Then he saw a new location that was about an hour south of the first. This was some sort of moving building? It had said ship. Was this a cargo container? Either way, he was being directed to level 26, but way out on the edge of the city. He was actually a little excited to go that far out for once, up until he realized how far away it was. How was he getting out there? He copied over the tracking information into his suit, and then
Up out of the chair. Down to 4. He copied over the
suit, and then got up out of the chair. The camo suit and knife had been incredibly useful. Should he change? As he looked down, he remembered he was mostly covered in blood. No wonder the prisoners had reacted like they did to his appearance at first. He walked out of the room, not acknowledging the prisoners, since he wasn't sure if this set of memories would be encrypted later or not. He hadn't ordered it, in case whatever he found needed to be looked at later. It wasn't until he was out of the prison that he activated his comm. Cavazor, you have a link to my sharks? Yes, hold on. Shark 1 reporting Phoenix. The Xeno pilot sounded rather energetic, considering all the flying. How are you feeling?
How are you feeling? Smile.
The Xeno pilot, considering all the flying. How are you feeling? Great! It's been incredible to fly for this team. Being on the side of the good guys is amazing. Thank you again for this chance to help the citizens. Vincent smiled at her reaction. It was good to hear that someone appreciated what they were doing to help. Did you get eyes of Gargoyle? Yes, because he thought back on what he talked to Mumble about. Yes, they were, yes. I'll keep details off this line for now. Good idea. I need a ride. He thought it over for a moment. Are they still with you? And are you willing to give me a lift to the edge of the city, Sector 26? I need fuel, but I can fly all day long for you, Phoenix. The Xeno kept making a smile.
Someone wants to steal Vincent from, Karana.
You can fly all, Phoenix. The Xeno kept making him smile. Asked them if they're up for more work. There was a pause for a moment, and then he got the reply. Ready and willing, Phoenix. Just need some more energy packs for their weapons. All right, meet me back at the base. Cavazor, can I catch a lift back to the base with that council craft outside? That's fine. Yervesh confirmed as Vincent nodded. Give me a chance to wash up then. He turned his comm off. Computer, nearest shower. He followed the lights, which took him to a guest room, it looked like, and quickly stepped in, suit on as he washed the blood off. Once that was done, he quickly walked out of the building and saw the craft waiting for him. As he climbed on board, it took off and
Drop down through the city.
As he climbed, it took off and began to drop down through the city. Vincent would have hours to kill on the way out, but he wasn't sure yet how to spend the time. He was always thinking, plotting, planning. Maybe he needed a break. Even as he thought that, he yawned and shook for a moment. It had been a while since he slept. They were down at the base soon enough, and he got dropped off on the roof of the building. Across the way, there were two sharks hooked up to various machines that seemed to be supplying more fuel and ammunition. Xenos he'd never been introduced to were seeing the maintenance. Ah, creature, we were a success, yes? He saw Gargoyle.
Two sharks hooked up to various machines that seemed to be supplying
Xenos he'd never been introduced to were seeing the maintenance. Ah, creature, we were a success, yes? He saw Gargoyle, Tishna waving at him. He nodded and approached the Armani as he noticed some strange box diagrams that had been scratched onto the stock of her sniper rifle. What are those?
Three. Ooh. We're not just down to 3, we're almost done. Almost down to 2. Onto the stock of her.
What are those? The tallies, of course. Each dot in each line is one person. Vincent counted and realized each full box was 10 people. 26 kills already? How bad had the siege on the construction site been? A very successful outing for you then. She nodded. My husband is getting more ammo and more rations. Do you need anything? No, but you two need personal comms. Yes, the mother bull already told us. He is getting some. I like your new costume, by the way. It is very ominous. Good at scaring those who are about to end, I think. The Armani woman grinned and nodded.
As Vincent shook his head. Nope.
And I think... Grinned and nodded as Vincent shook his head. It's not a costume. It's just a new suit. He activated the camo and vanished. The Armani's ears twitched back and forth as she clearly tried to find his location by listening. Very good, she said, and then punched him in the shoulder. How? He decloaked and rubbed his shoulder. How did you know I was there? I didn't hear you move.
And rubbed his shoulder.
Did you know I was there? I didn't hear you move. Ah, creature, we're ready. Vincent turned and saw eyes. Damn it, poor Steve, running across the roof to them. He had a bag over his shoulder and what looked like a heavy sandwich in his hand. Once he got close, he handed the sandwich to Tishna, who quickly tore a bite off and started chewing. Then he handed her 2 stranded metal clips. For a second, Vincent thought they were some sort of strange hair clips, until she clipped them onto the sides of her ears. Then poor Steve wrapped what looked like a small black choker around her throat, and Vincent realized these were comms designed for Armani, or at least that they could use. Tishna pressed on a bulge in the choker, and he could hear her over his comm, and in person as she echoed, Test, works, yes? Yes, works, test. Poor Steve replied, as Vincent realized the Xeno already had his own, and they
looked at him. Ready? Ready? Ready, Freddy? Already had his own.
Ready? Vincent shrugged and turned, walking up to Shark 1. He leaned inside and saw the bird elf Xeno at the controls. She was quickly snapping away pieces of some sort of fried fish in her fingers, before slurping at a drink with a long straw. Vincent was desperately trying to remember her name. Ah, Phoenix! Quite the face you have now. We're all set. Shark 2 will provide transport for the rest of the team. Where are we headed? Vincent quietly marveled at their willingness to dive straight back into the shit if need be. He kept getting worked up in his own head, but his team wasn't concerned with the big picture. He wasn't sure if that was good or worrisome. Both maybe. Here's the coordinates. He leaned forward into the cockpit so he could type the information into the terminal, and then stepped back into the main cabin of the craft. The Xeno pilot quickly finished her drink, and then tossed it out the side window at
Crown Crew. Final page! Oh! That's even 700. And then tossed it out the
ground crew. Hey, do I look like your janitor? The verdict protested. Yes! The pilot shot back, and then began hitting switches to get the craft operational. Vincent heard the hiss of various hoses being disconnected, and a thump because the shark was released. Then they were lifting up, and he found himself a seat in the main cabin with the husband and wife sniper team. They were eating and performing weapon maintenance, so he didn't feel like bothering them. He took a seat in the corner next to the cockpit.
Cabin with the husband.
They were eating and performing weapon maintenance, so he didn't feel like bothering them. He took a seat in the corner next to the cockpit and tucked himself into a comfortable position. He'd give Ma Rivera a call in a minute. He just wanted to wake up. Vincent jerked as someone shook his arm, and his hand went to the knife on his leg as he saw Tishna just before him. Then she pointed at the cockpit. You'll want to see this if you've never been here before.
The cockpit.
See this if you've never been here before. He got up and poked his head into the cockpit to look past the pilot. The city up ahead must have some bright lights. Holy fuck! They were suddenly out past the edge of the city, a crimson sun nearly blinding him as his helmet darkened to compensate. There were ships everywhere. As he looked up into the sky and then around, he could see ships everywhere. Large, small, sleek, bulky, colorful, drab. Thousands? Tens of thousands? He gripped the edge of the cockpit area's bulkhead to steady himself, as they had to maneuver around some. How many? The city has non-stop deliveries all day, every day, the pilot was saying. There's 1 billion people living here. Do you see any farms?
How do you think everyone gets fed? I mean, she got a point. Gotta feed the people. You can't afford to feed them. Give them bread and circuses.
Do you see any farms? Do you think everyone gets fed? Vincent was looking now at the edge of the city, and the massive dockyards built to accommodate the sheer amount of traffic coming and going. He was impressed. More so when he looked out the side of the craft and realized that he couldn't see the bottom, or top of the city, in either direction. The buildings and ships just stretched out beyond his ability to see. Now, the pilot continued, to find the ship in question. Vincent looked around once more at all the ships moving around. He didn't really have a good way to judge what he was looking at, but he was sure it would take hours. He didn't judge what he was looking at, but he was sure it would take hours of searching. He'd seen the merchant fleets headed in and out of the capital, and this made that look laughable. He was trying to find a needle in a stack of needles that kept moving and changing shape and size every second. They might be here all. Found it! She chirped. Well, guess he was wrong. Now to find what the wardens were hiding out here in this metal tidal wave of ships.
Success. Export. Creature 88, Creature 35, Creature 35.mp4. Woo! Ah. Alright, now comes the question. Who do we raid? Who do we raid? Okay. Engineer's a decent choice. Yeah. We'll be rating James as he plays Pal World over on the Rumble side. How about the Twitch side? Let's run some ads. See who we want to raid. Yeah, don't want any of those. Let's just filter by people I'm following. Also not interested. All right, no raid on Twitch, I guess. So, goodbye, Twitch. And we may as well kick to the curb. And we can oughta see you later. On the YouTube side, I do want to check one more. Just out of curiosity, we got anybody here we feel like Maiden doing something live? Guess not. All right. We can kill the YouTube stream as well.